So, welcome to This is Wrestling Films Wrestling Wednesdays. Thank you very much for your time. Really look forward to speaking to you again. As you know, I'm a big fan of yours. I had the pleasure of seeing you for the first time with Fight Factory in Lincoln and following your career since then. So I really appreciate you giving me your time tonight, and looking forward to catching up with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and looking forward to it.
Yeah. So just to start off with, obviously, because we're still all on this great weird pause at the moment that everyone's been forced into. How have you been keeping yourself going during lockdown?
I work for the NHS. I'm a nursing assistant at a high secure hospital, so that's what I've been doing on my weekdays and weekends. Really, it's 14-hour shifts and as well as so it's as busy as you can imagine. Long hours pretty much all week as well, because there's nothing else to do. It's literally work or be at home, so it has been very very difficult. Other than that, I'm fortunate to be able to have my own weights and gym equipment at home. Obviously nowhere near what a gym has, but enough to keep me going. So that's pretty much just been working that really, and fingers crossed for the return of wrestling and normality. But I know it seems like we're getting closer and closer, but you never know, do you? So we'll just have to see.
No, and it gets a bit more nervy when you get a bit closer to it, because you just get a bit panicky that it might change again. But that sounds very
you get more excited as well, and then let down again.
yeah. Well, congrats on that work. I mean, that's really impressive. That's a hell of a job to be doing over the last year as well, and the demands that go with that. So thanks to you for doing that. It means a lot to everyone at Appeal work for the NHS. So makes us wrestling fans love you even more now. You got that? You can bring out an NHS related T-shirt and we'll all snap them up. I can tell you that. It makes sense. Obviously, I can imagine it's very difficult. It's difficult not being able to watch it every week, but obviously you can watch it online and on TV. But for you, it's your performance and your sport, and you're putting yourself in there to switch off and be Will Kroos the character. How have you managed to? You mentioned obviously you've got some weights at home. How difficult have you found not being able to escape into that role while you've been stuck?
To me, I'd like, obviously I still class myself as just starting. I think I started in 2016 training. I think that's when I started. So for the past 4 or 5 years, well, it would have been 4, obviously, because the whole of last year and this year just been a write-off. So to do something for 4 years and then all of a sudden just not do it whatsoever, it's like, to me, it's not unbearable, because obviously there's a bigger picture, but for me, who's only like dip my toes in, essentially, to have like that kind of feeling, it must be so difficult for people who it is their profession, and like they don't have anything else to rely on or to go to. So for me, it has been difficult, because it's what I want to do as a career, and just getting that little taste of what you can have, and then it just being ripped away from you. It's been very difficult and very hard to stay motivated, especially when we go into one lockdown, we come out, oh, this is it, but then we go into lockdown again. So like I said, for me, who's only just really started, I know like 4 or 5 years might not be only just getting started to some people, but to me, I class that as just dipping my toes in the water. To have that taken away from me and still feel how I felt, I dread to imagine how people whose lifelong career it has been or is, what they must have gone through. So yeah, it has been difficult. So yeah, and that was the question. I went off a bit of tangent, but.
Well, that's one of the things that really stands out with you, how sort of humble you are, and how kind of you don't really, you're not one of those ones that shouts their name out, but you are making waves. You're very popular. You've got a good fan base and lots of promotions signing you up. obviously, I followed most of your career because I was quite lucky to see you quite early on in Lincoln. So, to see where you are developing, who you're working for, and what you've got booked in, it's really exciting to see that career grow. And I think anyone watching this will realise you're not really talking yourself up as much as you could, because there's some fantastic matches out online for you people to see, and we'll try and get into a little bit of that. Obviously, if we can step back originally, I know we spoke previously about how you got into wrestling to do with a documentary interview, which will hopefully get out this year. But if I can go back to it a little bit and revisit it a little bit, obviously, for how you sort of got into it in terms of joining a training school and learning it initially, what was that sort of process like for you?
In terms of how I first started, or how I found out about it, or
sort of how you sort of how it felt when you first joined, and obviously with Fight Factory in Lincoln, what was it like when you started walking through the doors and getting involved?
It's crazy, really. Like, I'm trying to remember the first time I went through those gym doors and seeing Hayden. I don't think Becca was there that night, but Hayden, the coach, and all the other trainees who were there. And it's like anything, you when you first start a sport, you are going to be nervous. There's no other way to feel. There was no way I was going into it thinking, oh yeah, I can do this. If anyone does that, they're crazy. But not until, I guess I was fortunate, really, because everybody was so welcoming as well. There was nobody who made it difficult for me or wasn't welcoming. So I'd say I had quite a nice welcoming into professional wrestling and training. Yeah.
And how was that transition for you? I think it was sort of a rugby background for yourself, wasn't it? Mainly.
So it was weird. I'd gone from the past, when I started in 2016, I think since 2013, I think it was or maybe, how old would I have been? Yeah, 2013. So I'd have been 15, 16. Since 2013, I was in a professional rugby academy, like a Premiership rugby academy. So and I started wrestling because I didn't make the big contract. I didn't get that big payday and big contract. So and I've always been a fan of professional wrestling since I was a kid. Being fortunate enough that my parents had Sky Sports, and I remember staying up late to watch it and sneaking back downstairs after they'd gone to bed and watching it. So it's always, but I don't think it was ever something I imagined myself doing until I went to a live event. I got released from the place I was at, and I went to a live event. I think it was in Nottingham. I went to a live WWE show. I think it was SmackDown. I went with a few mates, got some tickets. Almost like a nostalgia thing. And I remember talking I wonder what it'd be like to do it, or if anyone does it in England. So I had a quick Google, and obviously I found Fight Factory Wrestling, and that's it, really. I went, and I bottled up the courage to go and be like, oh, I'll give it a go. Might be a bit hokey, but yeah, that's it, really. There's no big story to it.
One of the things I was having a chat with Hayden a few weeks ago, and one of the things I brought up was the fact that I'd been watching some Fight Factory on YouTube, and there was a match where it was a big 5-on-5 feud and a big storyline. Oh, and who's that in the corner? It's the referee. It's Will Kroos.
Yeah, I know exactly what.
Yeah, how was that experience in terms of you learning the industry and getting the chance to be involved in it's sort of not just a one-on-one match, but you've got everything you're gonna have to manage there. What was that experience like?
That was great. That was crazy. I think that was my first time in front of a crowd ever. In front of a professional wrestling crowd, and Hayden and Becca just threw me in a striped t-shirt and said, "Go and we need a referee tonight." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it," having no idea on what I needed to do other than I just needed to like slap them out every time someone was being pinned. So, and they gave me like an earpiece, and like people were telling me what to do and stuff. And but yeah, it was crazy, like just seeing everything what happens, and I guess it made me value so much more how important a referee is to a match. To not saying that I didn't do a very good job at all, like I was the pits, but you know, like it just makes you aware of how important everybody is in their certain roles, and you could have a good match with another wrestler, but you could have a great match if you have a good wrestler and a great ref. So, you know, ref is very important, and being thrown in at that deep end made me realize just how like valuable and important everybody is. So yeah, I'm sure Hayden will have told you some funny stories from that as well. So
No. We just covered it slightly, and it was just a case of I was just curious because I thought I'd bring it up now, and I'm speaking to you now. It was really cool to see you in there. I suppose obviously you touched a good point there about the elements of everyone involved. To you, how important is it for you when you work to try and create a story for fans to sort of follow in terms of the match storytelling?
So important. Like when I first started doing matches, all I cared about was, this move will look cool, or like, and I guess no, I don't really anymore, but well, I do. Like, obviously there's times where you're like, oh, we'll do this maybe for like to see if we can get a bit of internet exposure or such and such. But in terms of like psychology and telling a story, I recently did a match review with a wrestler called Tyson Dux. He's a Canadian wrestler. He's wrestled for more companies than I've been alive, like days I've been alive. So he's very knowledgeable. I couldn't say, like, I could go on and on about him. But anyway, so I did this match review with him, and he was talking to me through a match I sent him, and he was saying, like, fans are going to enjoy like a cool move for 3 or 4 seconds. However, if you can get them invested in that match, like, yeah, emotions last for a life. Like, emotions will last for a few minutes, seconds, however long. But like, if you can get them in and make them believe and get them invested in what you're telling, that they'll go home and talk about it and have that memory with them for like forever. Like no one remembers, like, what's a good example? Say, like, how many Canadian destroyers do you see now? It's like no one cares that you'll see a Canadian destroyer in a match. However, you ask someone about a wrestling memory, everyone will go, "Oh, when Hogan slammed Andre," like that is wrestling, isn't it? It wasn't the fact that he body slammed; it was the fact that he body slammed Andre the Giant. Nobody had ever done it before. So yeah, it was massive. Like, back to your point, storytelling is massive and crucial to what we do. I feel like if you want to get to that top level, you need to be a master at telling a story.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I find quite intriguing from a fan coming in is obviously a lot of the events you work at, you might know in advance who your match is going to be, but a lot of the time it's sort of like you've got a booking like maybe once a week or a couple of bookings a month, etc. And you don't necessarily always have a feud or a storyline for that fans have invested in over a period of time. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. How easy is it when you go in knowing you're working with someone on the day when you arrive and you're trying to put the match together? You mentioned obviously you'll put a couple of moves or a couple of spots together and you'll try and piece it along. How much influence is there from a promoter to talk to you about, look, I really want you to be a face or be a heel and I want you to work the crowd, or is it a case of you're just left to come up with it with yourselves and who you're working with?
Yeah, I think it depends in what scenario you're in. If it's just like an attraction match, then it'll literally just be like you two go and do a match you're both capable of and blow the crowd away. Like if it's like a special attraction match, I guess the promoter will just let you guys do your thing, depending on where you are on the card, I guess. But like in terms of how much a promoter wants, it really does depend on who you are, who you're wrestling, what the match is there for. Like if anybody's wanted to see it, there's so many different factors in how your match goes, depending on what the promoter wants, or like what you guys want, like what you're like the hand you're dealt with. It's like poker, I guess. It all depends on the hand you're dealt with. So yeah.
I might jump between promotions here, but just to start off with Fight Factory, to talk a little bit more about them. What are your sort of, if people were looking it up online and want to look at some of your matches or some of the storylines involved, what are your sort of fondest memories so far of working with them and or anyone you've worked with? Obviously, I know Brett's obviously, you and Brett are very close in terms of not only the way you train together, but involved in matches and storylines, and that comes across really strongly. But yeah, what are sort of your fondest memories of Fight Factory?
You know, I'll always hold a special place for the Fight Factory in my heart. You know, they gave me my first payday, my first start in professional wrestling. They showed me the ropes. They gave me my first like big match, if you will, like put me on with like imported talent, mate, not necessarily from a different country, but like, you know, like they put me on with guys who are now in WWE or were in WWE, TNA. You know, they gave me like the first like what British wrestling and professional wrestling is, like not the pinnacle obviously, but like how do I phrase it? They gave me like that push to get me to the next. Not saying that Fight Factory are like bad or mid card or low card, whatever you want to say, but they gave me like that push with the guys they were putting me on with to get better and to strive for bigger things and, you know, get to more places. So yeah, I'm ever thankful for what Hayden and Becca have done for me, and yeah, I can't thank them enough.
That's amazing. Yeah, they seem to be like a almost what they call it, Fight Factory. It almost does feel like a bit of a sort of a factory production line with guys like yourself and Eliza and Brett, that, you know, they're creating people and trying to put them in the industry so that they can go out on their own as well. But, you know, at the same time, that we'll look after you until you're ready, and then we'll let you fly your wings almost.
Yeah.
In terms of guys that you've worked with there, any particular matches would, you know, are any of the storylines your favorite? Would that be, you know, in your sort of your top 5 or 10 career matches? Would anyone fit in there?
I think one of my best moments was working with. They put me on. It was a Gainsborough show at the X Church, and they put me on with Bram, and he is someone who I've become very close with. I look up to him. He's helped me out no end in professional wrestling and in real life as well. But that match I had with him, he didn't have to give me everything he did. Like he gave me so much in terms of like moves and like he really made me look like that next level. And he didn't have to do that for me. To him at the time, I was just like a payday essentially. Like Hayden and Becca had just booked Bram to come in and work the show, you know, as in like the special attraction essentially. So to him, he didn't have to do what he did for me that night, and but he did, and I guess the rest is history. He's doing his own thing now in America again, and he's So to me, that is my greatest memory of Fight Factory, being in there with him and the relationship I've got from it with him. So yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that was one of the last times I actually saw you in person was when you were with Bram. He was working that show, and yeah, I think you were traveling with him at the time. So that was really cool. It was good to see you.
Yeah. See you again. Sometimes just something else. He let me expand and go to shows with him. Get my name out there. Get my face out there. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He didn't have to vouch for me or anything, but for some reason he did, and I'm ever that much better for it.
Yeah.
Like he won't have gained anything from it. So, well, not that I'm aware of.
No. But like, it's what I mentioned to you earlier.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said to you, I genuinely mean it. You are a very humble guy in terms of guys like him will see the talent you've got, but it's the attitude and the mindset you've got. You're very, I don't know. Every time I speak to you, he's a very quiet guy. You're just a very calm, just quite a chill guy. And then obviously, but I watch you wrestle, and you're like, this guy's really, really good. Like he's genuinely really, really, really good. I don't think he realizes it yet. This is great, and that's why someone like him would believe in you and be like, oh, I'm going to just do a little bit extra because they can see it in you, and that's the thing. I think it's a strange, from an outsider looking in. It's a very strange industry with a lot of. I think there's a lot of sometimes nervousness or people worried about behind the backs kind of stuff, but when you get to a certain level, they can read personality really quickly, and they know genuine people to not genuine people. And I think that's what he saw in you, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of yours is that sort of side of you. Not just because I've seen you perform in a ring. It's just genuinely very nice outside of it. So yeah, but I won't compliment anymore now. I'll insult you a little bit. It's fine. While you're distant from me, I can get away with it. Obviously, the couple of companies I wanted to talk about were sort of your matches in Grimsby, but also I wanted to talk to you about Brett's company, World War Wrestling, and I've not had the pleasure of getting down to see that company yet live, but I always hear great things, and every time I watch anything online, really good production values, really good company, amazing talent, and I know that they're big believers in you in terms of you're always involved in sort of the title or the main event pictures, etc., and that's been great to see. What's it been like, sort of spreading out to going down to the farmland in Suffolk and getting involved in their company?
Yeah, no, Brett's a great guy. He's another person who's like he took a chance on me, whether that was from someone recommending me or him seeing me somewhere. He took that chance on me, booked me. I think it was a six-man elimination match, I think, for like a number one contender spot or something. Anyway, I ended up going. He put me over in that match, which to me I was like, wow, it's amazing at the time. And then so that was my first ever time with Brett down at World War Wrestling. And then the second time, I actually won his heavyweight title. He put the belt on me, so I think I've been the World War Wrestling heavyweight champion now for almost 3 years. Just with about 4 defenses because of the pandemic. So it's quite a funny one, actually. Really, when you think about it.
That's brilliant. The longest running champion of all time.
That's it. But yeah, but again, like I just said about Bram, and like Brett's just another guy he's looked out for me. He's helped me out. He's given me that opportunity to branch out, because obviously I'm not from the up north, but I'm quite far away from the south of England. So he's helped me get that exposure down south, and again, someone I'd be forever grateful for giving me that opportunity, and yeah, hopefully many more to come with him, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, from the outside looking in, it always looks like a great company, and I've chatted to Brett a lot of times through the BEW stuff when he's wrestled as Damien and rented the ring to him and things like that. So yeah, always a very, 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 very nice guy. So but yeah, I was quite curious what he's like to work for and what it
it's great. Yeah, him and his wife are lovely. Yeah, they make it, every time you're there, they'll do anything for you. They'll make you feel at home. They always make sure there's refreshments in the back for the guys, the workers, the members of staff who they have who help with merch, and like the officials and stuff. They're all just a really nice bunch of guys down there. So again, nothing but good things for those guys.
That's great, and it's great to hear, because obviously British wrestling, the idea of it is, what I want to do with sort of these things is talk about the positivity of the industry and get people excited about, it will return. There is an industry there, and you know, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
there might be people out there you've not seen before or heard of. You've got the time right now at home to look them up, and then obviously, hopefully, a few of the promotions that are, you know, are all the ones that are really good to people can all thrive and get everyone involved. So that's one of the things that, you know, I really want to flag up with this. So it's great to hear. Now, when it came to, I didn't get the pleasure to come to it, but in Grimsby, you had a very hardcore match for the first time. I wondered what's it like when you go from a regular sort of match wrestling to suddenly involving items or weapons or making it a bit more hardcore? How does that feel?
It was crazy. Like it was like an inter-promotion thing, BWR and Rise. So BWR being the company from Grimsby, but the first like hardcore death match gimmick thing was actually in Leeds, which is but it was at a Rise show, but obviously it was a inter-promotion deal. So back to your point, you know, I'd done like tables and chairs and ladders and stuff before, but you know, when you start adding stuff what shatters and cuts you very easily, it's just a different ball game, and I still don't know how to describe it. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I guess so. It was a different experience. Would I do it every week? Absolutely not. Like I've got, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I've got a 4-inch scar on my arm from that match. So yeah, just something I can say I've done, really, I guess.
Yeah,
but oh, yeah, that's. But in terms of the guys who I worked, you know, I've got people in that match who do that style of match regularly. So I was more than happy to do it, and I knew I was going to be safe, and yeah. So, and I think the match, for what it was, it did its job. So, you know, that's all what matters to me. Like the match gets over and people are happy. So, like, you fans and the promoters are happy. So, yeah,
that's cool. I wonder if it's quite, I don't know, you don't have to talk about it as wrestling, it could be anything, you know, sport or anything else, but I'm just quite curious who your sort of influences or your heroes are, whether that's from growing up or whether that's people now that you look up to, that who you view as they're the ones that I aspire to be more like that. Is there anyone you've had out your life that you've looked up to?
My dad is the main one. I think maybe that's just because he's my dad, you know. I'm very fortunate to have a really good relationship with my parents. So like, and my mum as well, she's one of the strongest people I know. So I'm not going to go into detail about it, but yeah, my parents definitely are my idols. So if I can be anywhere near as good as, or as, you know, as kind, as good, as strong as those two, then, you know, I'll be happy.
That's cool. That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. And in terms of obviously,
bit boring, like
no,
boring.
There's nothing boring about family. No, it's I'm always curious when I speak to people about, you know, what sort of motivates them and how they become who they are, and it's just an engaging thing that's not necessarily always wrestling related. It's just helps you understand someone a bit more and think, oh, right, okay, now I get why he's the way he is. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you mentioned the brand match with Fight Factory. Outside of that, your sort of highlights so far of your career, how does it, you know, what sort of, if someone was asking you about, like, what would you want to go and relive wrestling wise again in your career, what one moment, if you could go back to it, would you just like to go back into again?
Trying to think. See, this is why I say I've only just dipped my feet in, you know. One moment, I guess, recently is last year, for PCW in Preston. I won his Road to Glory tournament, which is the #1 contender, like, tournament thing, what he does for the heavyweight title. That was a big, that was a good weekend for me. So that weekend in March last year, I got to wrestle Black Taurus, who's he's now signed to TNA, I think, but he was wrestling for CML in Mexico. So it was him on the first night. And then on the second day, I wrestled Sheikh Al Sham, Tyson Dux, and Sebastian Suave. So I know Sheik's from the UK, but Tyson, Seb, and Taurus were all imports. So for me, that was a very like that. That to me would felt like I was finally, finally getting somewhere. You know, like maybe realizing that this could be like a full-time job for me. You know, so for me, that's my most fondest memory because it almost made me feel like, wow, Will, like you could do this. You know, so. But then obviously the pandemic happened, and here we are. So
yeah, joy.
But that's the same for everyone, though. So you know, there's no hard feelings or anything there. It's just what it is, you know. That week, that penultimate weekend, and then the weekend after, I was supposed to debut for ICW. So so you know, like talk about finally feeling like I'm getting somewhere. Not that I don't class the companies who I work for now as not being somewhere. It's just on that level of like breaking out almost. You know, I felt like I was on the cusp.
Yeah.
So
and it's moments, isn't it? Like they're the companies that you aspire to. You're kind of like looking at as ladder almost. And same as any, you know, industry you work in, you view a company as certain larger companies than other companies. That's just a natural thing. And because of ICW's name and nature and the global audience appeal they've got, then that's certainly something that, you know, if you can get back into that, then that'll be amazing.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully so. As I say, I know I'm very confident your career will take off as soon as everything's back up and running. I'm quite excited to see what happens next. But I'm just quite curious about Preston City Wrestling then that weekend, because I'm a big fan of that company. I think, you know, Flooded is a great another company again that, you know, create talent, build talent. The Sheikh, obviously, you know, I'm a fan of as well. What's it like going into a company like that? You know, as I say, you kind of arrive and thinking, this feels like I'm independent now and I'm being booked and whatever. What's it like walking into a company like that and working with international talent?
It's crazy, really. Like I'm going to sound repetitive again, but you know, I've obviously done the right things to lead to that moment because Flood had booked me on the word of somebody else recommending me. So, you know, and then to finally work. I think my first match there was late 2008. Yeah, late 2018. I worked Yeston Rees. It was my first match there. So I worked Yeston, which again was really good. You know, Yeston's been around British wrestling for a long time, and you know, incredible athlete and really nice guy. And then the next time I was back, it was his big Road to Glory weekend, and you know, I get there, I wrestle Taurus, and he puts me over Taurus, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. And then the second night, you know, we're in the brief, and he's like, Will, I'm putting you over for the tournament. I was like, you know, it's just not to sound like not a mark, but you know what I mean. Like but it is cool, I guess, because it finally, like again, it just feels like bloody hell, like this means something, you know. Like it feels like I'm doing the right thing. I'm getting like the right views and audiences on me, and people they obviously like to put me over in that tournament, you know. And obviously, like you said, he uses so many imports and brings people into work like the British guys. For him to give me that push, it must mean something. So it's incredible to walk into that kind of environment and be surrounded by guys who are well respected in this industry. And you know, no matter where you turn, there's someone to go to advice or someone to help you. You know, it's incredible.
That's cool. That's really cool. That's what I love about the company you're working for. You know, you're doing the right thing and on the right path. So the momentum you had obviously before lockdown, you know, everything was going in the right direction. You know, in terms of the wrestling career, you've got bookings obviously coming up. I've noticed on social media, you've got some companies coming up. What's the sort of post lockdown? What's the sort of way? What's the plan? You know, where are you first, and where would you look to hopefully work over the next year?
Yeah, so my plan is, well, the companies I've got in so far are PCW, obviously with Fludder, Tidal again. Ian, the promoter, he's another guy who, off a whim, brought me in for one show, see what I've got, and he's booked me ever since. You know, I've been on pretty much every Tidal show, and Ian runs a lot as well. So he's someone who's given me the ball and just let me run. You know, so Tidal, nothing but good words for it again. So PCW, Tidal, BWR in Grimsby. Trying to think. I think that's it so far. I know people are still cautious of coming back. Obviously, World War Wrestling, obviously, like you said with Brett, I know he's got a date in October, I think.
Got to defend that title.
Yeah, that's so someday, you know. I've been putting it off for a year now.
Just retire now. That's it. The day before it.
You can't have your title back, Brett. I'm done. But like where I aspire to be, Rev Pro is someone who, a company who I'd love to get in with and show what I can do on that stage, you know, and especially with their links with Japan and New Japan, and like one of my career goals is to get to Japan. So whether that be Noah, All Japan, DDT, Dragon Gate, you know, I feel like that style suits me really well. So yeah, if I could get in with Red Pro, again, like you've got all your big companies like Progress, ICW. Like if I can get back to ICW, well, I say get back there, but if I can, you know, get that booking again, that'd be something really cool. But anyone, I just want to, you know, British wrestling's come under so much stigma this past year, and I really want to, like, I've seen how good British wrestling is and can be. I really want to be one of the guys who takes it back to where it belongs and be at the forefront of the next like generation of British wrestling. So no matter what company, no matter who I'm wrestling, who I'm working for, where I am, I want to be the guy to, like, one of the guys to, or girls, you know, to get to the forefront and take British wrestling back to where it belongs. So yeah, that's my goal.
That's really cool.
My short-term goal.
No, that's a really good way to end it. I've got two quick questions to follow up on it, and then we'll end it there, because that's a really good way to really good motivating way to end it. The first is I was going to bring up about your style. You mentioned obviously the matches in Japan, the style of wrestling over there. What is your favorite style of, you know, if you're booked, you know, what kind of wrestling do you want to do? What would you like to? What kind of match do you like?
I guess it all depends on who I'm working as well. It's very often where it's not very often, sorry, where I'm the smaller competitor in the match now. So any chance I get to do like some high flying moves or like cruiserweight moves, I used to be really keen to do them, but now I'm a bit older, like only a year older, but I'd say I'm more wiser, I guess. So to me, just anything, I just want to make it look real. You know, I want to, you know, back in the days where like you had the territories in America, and you know, it was just so believable. I want it. That's probably my favorite. Of wow, did Will just really punch that guy in the face, or you know? So, and like just hard hitting, like strong. Oh yeah, strong style. I guess I welcome it. So
cool.
That's
and then final question is just touching back on the British scene overall. Yeah, obviously there's peaks and troughs, and people recognise British wrestling as a certain style or as a certain generation or whatever else. Where do you feel it currently sits as an overall industry compared to the rest of the world?
You know, I see. I really think there is a lot of stigma behind British wrestling, and you know, I think it's great now that British wrestlers are getting the recognition globally. I mean, you've got Will Ospreay, who's just won the New Japan heavyweight title, the first English. I'm pretty sure British. I want to say British. Don't quote me on that, but definitely English. guy to hold that title, which is a massive feat, you know. So you like if Will's doing it in Japan, you've got Pete now and Pete and Drew and everyone in WWE in America, just showing like what British wrestling is about and what us guys are capable of. So, you know, if I can be anywhere near to having that catalyst of what those guys have had, that'd do me as well. You know, if I can be someone in 20, 30 years time who say, oh, Will Kroos helped lead the next generation of British wrestling to new heights, you know, that'd be amazing. So I really want to get British wrestling back to the heights of where it should be and where it can be.
That's great. It's a brilliant way to end it. Well, I'll put all the links on this for your social media so people can follow you and interact with you. And let's try and get you you booked all over the place. And one thing I'd really love to happen is one of my dream matches is now that Doug's out of retirement, I would love to see you and Doug Williams getting it on in one of those companies you mentioned. I won't brand any of them. But let's get it. I'm
just gonna leave you with a keep your eyes peeled for that one.
Nice. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. That's the dream.
That's it.
Yeah, thanks again for your time and really
I appreciate it anytime.
Honestly.
Yeah, and you take care. Thank you very much.
All the best. Cheers.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.